Shut up.
Wow. Welcome back to another Talkin Twats podcast. And yes, me and Matt are going to beg to differ in this episode of the Talkin Twats podcast. He's going to think that I'm an absolute twat, and I'm going to think vice versa, Matt, because it has been one hell of a weekend and we're fresh off the bat. We've got a lot to talk about, but how are you doing?
Oh, I don't even know how I'm doing anymore. We'll just point out to anyone viewing, we're doing this, about 20 minutes after the checkered flag? I don't know what to think at the moment. I don't know about you. I have never seen a race like it in my 11 years now of watching Formula One. I've never seen anything even remotely close to the absolute scenes that the Jeddah circuit produced.
Where do we start? I mean, let's start from the beginning. Let's start from scratch. How did we get to Jeddah? What happened? I mean, it stepped in at short notice. We built, Jeddah, Saudi, they built the circuit in 7-8 months. I mean, that is a credit in itself. They went bold, they went ambitious, and they tore up every rule book when it come to making a racetrack. Herman Tilke was involved in making it. He's been very unwell. His son has picked up the reins. We wish him well. But going into this weekend, it was all about Frank Williams and, our thoughts. And now we've got to say a big thanks, Matt. There's no one like him in the sport for coming in with no money, just pure passion, finding the money, bringing so many champions from Alan Jones, from Damon Hill to Jacques Villeneuve to you name it, putting Senna in the car, so many iconic people, Nigel Mansell. You name it. We just got to be blessed, and we love you, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a man who contributed his life to motorsport, and he will be sorely missed throughout the paddock and in the Formula One community.
Yeah, a shining example to us. His accident, his disability didn't hinder him in his pursuit of passion, which was racing. And talking of passion, there was a lot of it this weekend, Matt. Coming into the race, was a big unknown. Was the track going to be ready? That was what we was talking about last time out. Was the track going to be there and ready in time? She was ready. They done a great job to get it scrubbed overnight. I think Thursday night coming into the Friday session, they cleaned it. They got all the sand off, all the builder's dust. And what was your initial impressions of this circuit, Matt?
It looks cool. It's extremely fast. Looked like it was going to be very good to qualify on, just the sheer speed of every single corner. And the race, I didn't have high expectations. It looked like one that was going to be they'll just form a train, won't they? They won't be able to get close or past each other because it's got so many corners and none of the straights are actually straight. That opinion was wrong, as it would turn out. So that's a shame. But yeah, circuit looked good. And it was finished, which was the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, it did look like much under the sunset, but when the lights turned on of an evening, it was one beauty to behold. And fair play to getting it going. We talked about going to Saudi Arabia in 2019, didn't quite materialize, but the money talks, and we got there in the end. And we was here in Jeddah for another race to add to this epic, 22 race calendar. But my God, has it delivered some high drama this weekend. And let's start with qualifying. Going into qualifying, the Red Bulls, they looked the favourites coming into this weekend. We thought the high speed nature, it was going to be all about the Mercedes, that rear package, the way it squats down, the rear wing, all of the things it's been challenged upon. But in Qatar, we saw a sort of like similarity in terms of the top speed. And in qualifying, Matt, it was a completely different story than we expected.
Yeah, we were, like you say, coming for practice, we were anticipating Red Bull to be fast. And I think that was, like we're saying, the setup of the Red Bull for the weekend. They definitely put a lot more downforce, specifically at the rear of the car, knowing that in qualifying, you can open the DRS down pretty much all the straights here, which eliminates any rear downforce. So they don't have to pay the price for drag at the rear of the car. It means they can keep up top end speeds while having the downforce for the corners. Obviously, the drawback of that is that you lose out in the race when you can't open the DRS and you do have to deal with the drag. Red Bull looking very tasty into qualifying. I don't remember most of qualifying. We'll just talk about the final part of it. There's been too much to remember, Rich. Max was faster than Hamilton in the first part. They then go out for run number 2, and Lewis, like he normally does, I think he must find some sandbags in his cockpit or something in the garage. And he goes, oh yeah, forgot to take these out, chucks them out and goes fastest. And it's all down to Max, all eyes on the Red Bull driver. And to start with, for 26 corners of the Jeddah circuit, I haven't seen a lap like it in a long time. He was so right on the edge of it, and the lap was so freaking good. That was like Hamilton Singapore 2018 kind of thing. It was about to be the greatest lap of the season, and then turn 27. Just a reminder, it exists.
Yes.
Max reached his breaking point and went sailing into a barrier and embraced his inner corner beer and bottled it.
Yeah, snatched the inside front left tire going into the corner. Still tried to carry the speed through the corner, got on the loud pedal at the same kind of time he admitted to, and ended up in the exit barrier. But that's what this track delivers, is high drama, and you've got to be on it. It was an out-of-body experience. I thought he was already bottling it, Matt, in the first sector when he got wide, and he went ever perilously close to the barriers, but he held on to it. I thought that was it. I thought it was gone. I thought it was Hamilton's pole position, but he went 2 temps, 4 temps coming into that final corner, about 3 temps up on Lewis himself, and all he had to do was feed it through that final corner. And he got a bit too greedy, in my opinion, snatched the brake. Maybe the tires, the Red Bull turned them on very quickly. The Mercedes struggled. They'd done about 4 laps, I think, in Q2 in particular, so put extra mileage on their tires. But it was, Mercedes played it safe. Red Bull went ham. They went hard, and it didn't pay off in the end. And it should have. It was Max's there to lose, and he did lose it. And it was a 1-2 to start the race. Max Verstappen P3. I can't even remember who was P4. Was it a Charles Leclerc? It was a Charles Leclerc. We love to see that as well. We thought he might get his handbags out. Sergio Perez P5, and the rest of the order. And it was all focused on the front of the order coming into this race, Matt. Coming into the race, I think you felt it. I felt it. That energy coming into the race, just the start of it. You felt there was something special in the offing.
Yeah, I think it's been 5 years since we've gotten to this stage of a season, and there'll still be a championship fight still on. And that really added to the atmosphere, and it was edge of your seat stuff before we'd even started. Lights out and away we go. It was a pretty dull start, I seem to remember. I think
it was a great start from Lewis.
Yes.
Lewis got off to a blinding start. Great traction off the line there. Both the Mercedes in particular. Max found wanting, I'd say, down into turn 1. We saw Checo almost rear-end his teammate as well.
Yeah, got very close. He was racing Leclerc, wasn't he? I think that was, at the time, that was going to be a crucial move for the race. Get ahead of Leclerc as quick as you can. Didn't quite do it because he nearly rear-ended Verstappen. I imagine Mr. Marco would have had some stern words, shall we say, had that happened. But yeah, other than that, they all got away fairly cleanly, I think.
Fairly cleanly. We had 50 laps upcoming of this 3.8 mile circuit, the highest speed street circuit on the calendar, higher speeds than Silverstone observed, which is one of the pinnacles of racing in terms of high speed corners, etc. But with the barriers perilously close, it was never going to be a straightforward race, Matt.
No, we were going into the race, and I don't know which server it was in, but in one of our Discord servers, I was saying, I don't want this circuit to be a Monaco. I hope it's a Baku. The fear being we were just going to get a train of no overtaking. As it turned out, it was definitely a Baku. I can confirm. Nothing like the Monaco Grand Prix.
It was a schmaku. It wasn't a Baku. It was a schmaku. That's what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't take us long to have our first crash, did it? And surprise, surprise, it was a Haas. I did shout, "Oh, for God's sake, Mazepin!" It wasn't Mazepin. It was the other one. It was a big surprise. Force habit.
Lap 10, Mick Schumacher. It didn't look like he'd done anything wrong. The commentators even said it. So he just turned into the corner, and the bats said, No, not today. Thank you very much. We're going home early. See you later. And whack into the barrier. Now, you're talking lap 10 of the Grand Prix and very early in the race. So, they're already starting on the medium tires. Look at a one-stop race going into it from the Pirelli tire predictions, etc. So we're thinking most of the front runners are maybe going to try to edge it out. The field hasn't had that spread that you'd normally expect to try and switch up the strategy. But what Merck do, Matt? What do they do in that situation?
It's a safety car. I think you could get hards from the end from there, and they knew that. I think they did what they had to do. They had to bring their cars into the pits. I think it would have been a massive risk leaving them out had Verstappen then come in. So they did the double stack, which was a little bit cheeky because Bottas did have to slow up a lot. I don't think Red Bull were too happy about that, but that goes either way, doesn't it? I think Red Bull would have done the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the stewards were never going to do anything about that. You just had a little bit of whining on the team radio. Verstappen stays out, which I think was the right call, because had they brought him in, it would have just been giving the race to Mercedes. They'd have been copying them. They'd have handed advantage Mercedes, and without now any strategy for Red Bull to play on to get ahead, they'd have been saying, "Hey Max, go past two Mercedes," which is no easy task. But they stayed out, and then some drama happened.
Yeah, so I was initially surprised that Mercedes didn't split the strategy and try and maybe keep Bottas ahead of Verstappen and just match him like for like. It's a big risk going into the pits, doing a double stack. Anything can and will happen. And we've seen Mercedes trip over themselves in the past, but they've done it. They committed to the double stack. They both come into the pits. And that left Max Verstappen leading the Grand Prix. And then lap 13, we had a red flag, Matt. And what does a red flag mean?
Oh, that means we're all going to come into the pits because the race is stopped. Nothing really happens, but you are allowed to change tires or fix damage to the car, and that does count as your mandatory tire change. You're using 2 compounds of tire, of course, so it does count. And so, if you've not pitted yet, this counts as your stop. That works out quite nicely for Max, doesn't it?
I was absolutely cursing at that minute. I was in the Discord chat with Mr. Connerby saying it's an absolute travesty, a fucking ridiculous rule, and there will be plenty of shenanigans in this, so pardon my French. But yes, so we had the red flag, and a red flag means we can change tires, but it also means what else, Matt? How do we get started?
It means we get to do a standing start.
The pain. The pain.
Only the second of our 3 standing starts. It's been quite recent that FIA have started doing that, isn't it? They used to be after a red flag, it was always just a standard safety car restart, and it's been I think it was the German Grand Prix in 2019 where they sort of started doing it. They said, "Oh, we can do a standing start," or it might have been later than that. I don't know, but they started doing it, and I think it's great, especially when it produces some fabulous drama for me and Rich to have a go at each other about.
Yeah, we had Baku. Now we had Mashku. We had round 2 on the start there, and we had Max Verstappen there. He had he switched his tires at that point, didn't he? I think what was he on, the hard compound at that point? I do believe on the first safety car restart, the first full restart after the first red flag. And it was all square. We had the Mercs. They only had one fresh set of the hard tires. So Lewis had his scrub set from them few laps under the safety car, as well as Valtteri Bottas. And going down towards turn 1. What exactly happened on that first restart, Matt?
I don't remember, Rich.
Don't you remember, man? Don't you?
Of course I remember, Richard. Big man Verstappen was on pole and should have had a nice, easy run to turn 1, lead the race, but did he get the good start that he wanted? No, that would be far too simple. Hamilton nailed the start, comes up the inside, and, well, he's got the corner, hasn't he? It was his corner, for sure. He was definitely ahead, and then Max tries to, as I expect Max to do, I was never expect Max to concede. Max tries to come back around the outside. Lewis obviously takes the racing line. Why wouldn't he? And then Max cuts the corner, rejoins in I want to say a dangerous manner, but also I don't know what else you want him to do. There's not really anywhere else he can go. But Ocon goes past Hamilton because Hamilton then has to be forced wide by Max as he comes back on. And then behind, there's some carnage going on. Mazepin crashes into someone. Perez is in the wall. Leclerc's not been seen. It was the drama off the start that we should have had.
So for the second time, lights out and away we go down towards turn one. A brilliant start from the Mercedes. Good traction off the dirty side of the grid down in towards turn one. He had the corner by a country mile. Max Verstappen let off the brakes, tried to go the long way round, was never going to make the corner, missed the corner, hopped across the curbs once again, Matt, okay, and pushed Lewis wide, enabling Ocon to get round the pair of them at that point. And my God, I was cursing Max Verstappen because this guy, he doesn't race wheel to wheel. He doesn't keep it inside the boundaries. I'm getting to my limit in terms of my Max Verstappen tolerance at this point. But yeah, we had a big incident, big shunts going on in that restart there. We saw Sergio Perez out the race. We saw who else was it out the race? I think it was it Russell as well, who DNF'd at that point in the race. And yeah, it was a concertina effect. I felt. You didn't feel it was like partly to blame for Max. It wasn't an incident that happened further up. It wasn't like, okay, let's fuck the rest of the guys, but at the same time he did, because coming out of 1, 2 on the exit of 2, everyone had to slam on the brakes. That's where you saw Sergio Perez get choked kind of in the middle. We saw like a lot of going on in that middle of the pack there, and it was an unfortunate circumstance, but Max Verstappen's audacious move down in there. Zero respect for Lewis. I know we've got a championship to play for, but I feel Lewis would have given him a bit more in that situation on a start of the race, but we didn't see it. I know you differ, but tell me what he could have done different there.
I don't think Lewis would have done differently. I think Lewis also would have just tried round the outside to hang it on in there. I think they're both champions. They're both in a title fight so close. He would have just tried to hang it on in there. Whether he would have kept on the curb or bottled, he might have backed out earlier.
He would have and switched back. He would get the switch back.
No, he wouldn't have, Rich.
No, he would have. He would have
just continued to try and go to the outside. Max obviously tried to keep it there the whole way through. I think Lewis earlier on would have diverted off and just sort of cut turn 2 and then given the place back. But yes. I think he would have definitely tried. I was a bit angry at you in the Discord then.
He would have given the place back. He would have cut the corner, avoided the contact is what you're saying, yeah? And given the place back.
I got very angry at you in the Discord because you then started coming out with this stupid claim that Max has then caused the crash behind.
It was a concertina. It was a domino effect. It was his actions which triggered what happened further back. It wasn't a direct result of pushing Perez and his teammate and other people into the wall. No, but you know, his driving standards kind of influenced what happened to behind. He wasn't 100% to blame. They could have reacted better, but on a restart, everyone's hungry. Max Verstappen was starving, you know what I mean? And went for it a bit too hard. You know what it's like when you're leading off the restart, you know it's yours to lose. And he's a bad loser, Matt. He's a bad loser.
Yeah. When Max loses, he gets angry. When Lewis loses, he cries. It's quite funny. They're both not great at losing. Max, however, shows that a lot on circuit. Yeah, I think the other incident was just they were 3 wide and the guy on the far right didn't leave space for 2 cars, probably not knowing that he was wheel to wheel with 2 cars and not just the one, to be fair. But I think, yeah, Max's move slowed everyone up and then contributes to the scenario behind and keeping them all close. But I don't think you can look at that and go, oh, for fuck's sake, Max, you've just caused Perez to go out the race, you prick. It's just, I don't think that's the scenario that happened.
Yeah, it could have technically cost his teammate. I'm going to be 100% biased today, and I don't give 2 fucks about it, okay? I'm wearing the 44 T-shirt. I'm wearing the Mercedes colours, and I'm a passionate Hamilton fan. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm British. I'm Hamilton. I'm proud. And don't get it twisted. Call me whatever you want to call me. So we had that incident, Matt. What happened after the incident? Was it just a yellow flag, you know, like maybe a VSC? Talk to us.
Rightly so, Verstappen was told, you've gone off the track and gained an advantage there on 2 cars, and was instructed he would have to give up those 2 places, which he did nice and smoothly on the restart as they got ready to go racing again. Sorry. And yeah, as they were ready to go racing again, I think we saw Red Bull decide they wanted a change of strategy. Now they were back behind Lewis and fit on a set of medium tyres, which was a bold call. I think a long way to go in the race still. And I think Red Bull probably knew that it was a stretch, but it was a risk they were definitely willing to take.
Yeah, a risk, and a big risk as well. They're still leading the drivers' championship at this stage, Matt. So, like, I mean, at that point in the race, I was thinking, like, this is, balls to the wall kind of situation, and you're really throwing caution to the wind. I mean, we saw it in the first stint there. First safety car, do opposite to the car ahead of you. And again, we saw that again. As an experienced esports driver, you know what it's like. Do opposite to the car ahead of you. If you're a championship rival, that gives you the best opportunity. If anything does differ in the strategy, you will get it. And yeah, we saw Max Verstappen start again for the third time. Now we had this is the third standing start we're going to have. Switch to the mediums, and a big shock and a long way to go in the race. At that point, we're talking what? We're talking another 35, 36 laps.
Yeah, 34 laps. I seem to remember 34. Counting it to be.
Yeah, 34 laps from a standing start, and it should be Max Verstappen leading us off the grid on the formation lap on the route to the grid. But as we lined up on the grid, Matt. Things changed.
Things did change, Rich. Well done. Nice. Yeah, Max gave up the places he was instructed to by by Michael Massey. I'd say the stewards. It wasn't the stewards, was it? Michael Massey sort of said, yeah, I won't refer it to the stewards if you just give back the places, which I think it's fair enough in the sense that normally they'd have racing conditions where Max could have voluntarily let the two cars behind pass. We didn't have that because instantly they brought out the safety car and the red flag. So Max didn't ever get a chance to just let them go. So I think that was Michael Massey's way of saying, if you want to let this guy through, we won't have to penalise you, but do it now, else it's going to the stewards. So Max didn't then go.
The thing that impressed me as well about Massey at that point was that he initially said, well, if you start P2, we won't refer it, kind of thing. But Ocon was P2 at this point. So they're like, okay, we'll take that. And then Mercedes kind of clarified it. Red Bull clarified it. And it was like, no, actually. And he stood up and he said, yeah, I got that one wrong. No, actually, you need to start, Ocon will start first, Lewis second, and you third, which isn't the worst thing in the world. You're going to start on the clean side of the grid, again, down towards turn one. You're going to have the optimum tyre in terms of the mediums as well. But since when does Michael Massey become the mafia boss where he can call the shots and fuck off every single steward that is there for that weekend, Matt? Because that is a bold decision. I'm not saying it's the wrong decision, but that is a bold decision to disregard everyone and every kind of like procedure you put in place. And at that point, I did question it. I understand it, and it's a more of a purist move because it gave us a straight fight and we didn't have a penalty, and it's good for the sport. But it's not a dictatorship when it comes to the stewarding. A lot of the teams radio in, and Michael Massey says, I've got nothing to do with it, but when it suits him, he can call the shots. Let's just break that down for a second. What did you make of that? I know it worked out well, but it could be a grey area moving forward, don't you think?
Yeah, it could be. And I think it's not like a new thing. I think this has been a thing for a while because obviously when you get the stewards involved, you draw out the process so much. It's ridiculous because all the stewards then have to look at it and all have to vote and all talk about it. And that takes time. When Michael Massey does it, he can just look at it and go, yeah, give up the place. And we've seen it before, I think in Bahrain, when Max gave up the places to Lewis on that occasion. I think that's very likely, once again, it wasn't the stewards that said that. It was probably Michael Massey watched it once and went, yeah, you've overtaken him off the track there, give back the place. And I think it's fine on this occasion that Michael gave them, because they didn't have the chance while racing for Max to get up the places. It was Michael giving Red Bull the chance to not have to take a penalty for gaining 2 places off the track if they just gave up the 2 that they gained, which in this case was fair enough.
Yeah. I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, and it greatly gained Lewis in that scenario there before we started the race and everything, and it was a great thing for him. It also mitigated Red Bull potentially if you get a 5-10 second penalty, stop go even whatever it may be at that point. I don't think it would have gone to that level, but that could have been a lot worse with another safety car or anything like that happening in the race. And I just feel it can be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction when it comes to a single person making the decision. That's why I feel it should be something that's discussed for the next seasons, etc. Because I don't think Michael should have that kind of authority. He can when it comes to safety, calling a red flag, a safety car, which we'll get onto again because that was a topic of discussion. Should he have called out a full safety car instead of a VSC so early and stuff like that? Because it did elongate and maybe benefit others over another. But yes, I mean, well, I'm getting lost already. Safety car. We had the start number 3, Max Verstappen on the mediums. We had both Mercs on the scrubbed hards at this point, and it should be an easy start for Lewis there, no?
Negative, Rich. Negative. Yeah, Ocon on pole, which was great. Hamilton P2, Verstappen P3. Off the line, Ocon didn't get away overly well, and Hamilton was instantly alongside and looked like he was about to just breeze into the lead. And at this point, I was thinking, as the non-Lewis Hamilton fan of the podcast, I was thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, Esteban, why have you just let him go straight away? Because now Max is going to get held up, Lewis will fuck off, and that's it. That's done deal. Lewis has won the race. Max, on the other hand, did actually some good overtaking. Perfectly clean. Did what he had to do. Sent one to the inside, got it stopped, made the corner. Perfectly good move, and was leading the race. Nailed
it was a beautiful send by Max Verstappen. And I don't often say that, Matt, but he went balls to the wall. Lewis Hamilton saw it and he was like in two minds. He was like, oh, like going down in there. He got pinched. We saw the sparks flying off the wing of the Mercedes. I was cringing at that minute. I was like, no, Lewis is damaged. This is race over material at this point because, it looked like big consequences for Lewis. It was kind of cosmetic in the grand scheme of things. It looked like they just rubbed end plates and the end plate stayed on at that point. But Lewis had to jump out of it, ended up behind Ocon. Max Verstappen went third to first. And he absolutely bolted out the gates. Then it's up to Lewis at this point. He needs to attack Ocon at that point. And the heart was in my mouth at that point. It was beating hard. And, Max on the mediums, he had a job to do there. He had to pull out the advantage. He had to get his head down pretty quickly. But Lewis come back. He come back strong at that point.
I think the pace was always in that Mercedes to breeze past Esteban Ocon down one of the straights, and I knew that part of me was saying Max needs to go now. He needs to push while Ocon's ahead of Lewis because Lewis can't do anything back at this point. But the other part of me was saying Max needs to save his tyres to get to the end, and Lewis, let's be honest, will just have saved up a bit of battery and we'll just pass him down the straights because the Mercedes is so fast down the straights. It's I don't know what they've done to that car to make it so ridiculously good, but it is just they are now. We've gone to at the start of the season where arguably Red Bull, particularly with the limbo wing, with a quicker car down the straights, it's now Mercedes are comfortably ahead in the straight line, and Lewis got the job done.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about rear wings all day long because we had that new technical directive after, I can't remember what bloody race it was now, Matt, but we had the limbo wing, which was protested by the Mercedes. We've now had the Mercedes, which has not been protested yet, strangely, by the Red Bull. After the Brazilian Grand Prix, it was very apparent that they was gaining a lot there, but it's more the squat and thrust, I like to call it, package, which Mercedes are really benefiting from. But coming into this weekend, we said about in qualifying, Red Bull threw a lot of clicks on the in terms of the aero as well to get track position like a Monaco Grand Prix and control the race from there, thinking that no one could pass. But it was a very draggy car, and it was anything but a Monaco Grand Prix with the amount of restarts, the amount of high speed corners, and the degradation on the car as well. And I'm absolutely forgetting what point in the race we are right now, because it was the third restart of the race. Lewis Hamilton absolutely sent it on Ocon, and from that point he didn't look back. And he didn't look back in anger, because he was absolutely in his element at that point. He caught back up to Verstappen in a blink of an eye, and he looked to be the absolute aggressor in terms of pace and precision at that point. And Max Verstappen didn't have much to answer. Like you say, he had to really conserve the tyre and think about the long game. But in terms of the long game, Matt, it came back towards him several times in that closing phase due to several, and I lose count, several incidences which slowed down the pace of the race, no?
Yeah, there was so much going on. I will just clarify, by the way, I keep looking off here. It's because I've got the Sky up on my phone. Like, I'm not just texting, by the way.
I've got a book, so yeah, I'm not much better. So
yeah. Lewis, he could push on those hard tires, couldn't he? He could close up. I think, as we discussed, he had the better race car, and that's what was allowing him, and as well as ridiculous straight line speed, that's what was allowing him to be right up there with Verstappen and pushing him all the way through. Early on, Hamilton was never like close enough to go for it, was he? He was constantly, what was happening was they got through the straights and Hamilton was closing up. They then got to the twisty sector one, and Max would just pull out like 5 tenths, 6 tenths every time, because he had the downforce. He didn't have to deal with dirty air. Every time they came through that sector, all that Lewis had just gained down the straights was undone by Max. And that's exactly what was keeping him ahead for so long. I don't know if Lewis was maybe backed off because he was going, Max is on mediums. Those tyres will drop off at the end of the race. He knew his chance would be later on. But and then we'll just touch on it briefly. I know it wasn't the highlight of the race. First Vettel and Tsunoda. That was completely Tsunoda's fault. Vettel and Kimi. Interesting one. I don't really know what
Kimi was disgusting there as well. Kimi shouldn't hang it around the outside there. I think he completely outbraked himself, and just damaged. He damaged Sebastian, and was that around lap 27? We had I think we had debris on the T13 or something at that point in the race, and totally uncalled for. And Kimi getting it wrong. I mean, Gio had his number all weekend as well. Let's get onto that as well, because Kimi was it didn't adapt to this circuit very well. We saw Giovinazzi get into the Q3, didn't he? He was up into the top 10, I think it was, in qualifying positions, and it really was the trendsetter for the Alfa Romeo. But we'll forget about that pretty quickly, because we had plenty more to focus on after that.
Yeah. We had the debris across the circuit, which brought out a virtual safety car. We then got back to green flag running, and then we remembered, oh crap, there's still all of this debris on the circuit. So we put a virtual safety car back out again, which lasted way too long. Like that VSC, I seem to remember being sat there talking again to you, I think, going, why are we still virtual safety car? If it
should have been a full safety car, no? Because then you back up the pack and you give a big advantage to the marshals. They can dive in because there's no cars on the circuit for maybe a minute or so, and you can do what you need to do. I think we had debris lap 27, VSC lap 28, then VSC lap 30 in the Grand Prix as well, and it was panda fucking monium. It was
it was a bit ridiculous. Like you said, I don't know why not just put a safety car out so the marshals can actually be the track, because we just spent so long under this VSC. Eventually, we got racing again, and we were looking back sort of as we were before. It didn't really change a lot until Vettel's broken car decided to shed a bit more carbon fiber, was just falling apart. It was a bit like Verstappen's in Hungary, I seem to remember. It was just completely broken on one side, shedding parts. Piece of debris on the circuit, and that brought out another virtual safety car, and this one is critical because of where it came out and how long it lasted. It came out just at the end of the straights where Hamilton makes up his time. Of course, it's only one piece of debris this time for the marshals to clear, so they got that done pretty quickly. Yeah. And that meant that now, having gone through the twiddly bit where Verstappen would always gain the time on Lewis under VSC, so Verstappen doesn't gain, they get going again right as we enter the straights where Hamilton is about to close up even more. And that's what sets off this sort of long chain of events, which ends up in the high drama, which we're all going to get heated about now. BSC comes in. Hamilton, instead of being his normal sort of 1.5 seconds off Max at this point, is now within a second. He's close. He's got the DRS. By the time they arrive at the final corner, the gap is 4 tenths. And I'm thinking, this is it. This is Lewis's chance. If he's going to do it, he needs to do it now. And Lewis knows that. Got on the battery, got on the slipstream, put the DRS on, forced to the outside, as you'd expect. And it looked like he wasn't fully ahead, but he was like
wheel to wheel.
He was pulled ahead, still side by side.
Max, no. He was like that going into the corner.
You sure?
Yeah. Let's watch it back, Max. Let's watch it back.
I'll take your word for it, but I felt that Hamilton was fairly far ahead at this point. I mean, like Hamilton on the outside, it was looking like Hamilton was about to do it. Max, obviously, it's Max Verstappen. He's not just going to let him go, is he? That would be stupid.
Just
Max launches it up the inside, and I think it wasn't like a dive bomb because he wasn't far back. I think he just, I don't know, got on a bit of dirt on the track and slid off across Lewis.
Bullshit. Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, you got cold there, Rich.
Bullshit. Yes. Excuse me.
Okay, sorry. Just making sure you weren't saying something under your breath there. Yeah, it did look like a genuine mistake because it wasn't like he just drove off like in Brazil where he just drove off the circuit. Like he did get a proper swapper on halfway through the corner, but he did then keep the position by forcing them both to cut turn 2, which is a nice, simple. I watched it and went, oh, for God's sake, Max, you could have defended that. And you've just now created a scenario where you have to give the place to Lewis. And he knew it instantly. Max obviously didn't instantly, but then I guess Michael Massey got involved and said, yeah, I won't refer this to the stewards. If you just swap places, Max got the message.
Yeah.
Max got the message. Lewis, I think, was in the process, or his team were in the process of receiving the message that Max is going to let you through when Max then began the process of letting Hamilton through. And this is where the real drama of, we're not doing talking under your breath again, Rich. This is where Max lifts off the throttle, keeps to one side, expecting that Lewis will fly past. And Max has thought this through. He's thought about where he's doing this. He knows what he's doing. It's all very I can see you ready to say horseshit right now, Rich. He knows exactly what he's doing. He wants to let Lewis by so he gets the DRS and can just repass him instantly. Lewis is smart and knows this, and he wants the DRS. So Lewis lifts off, and they're both slowing down. And Lewis, of course, you have to remember, has not been told Max is going to let you through. As far as he's concerned, Max has just decided to slow down on a straight, which is a bit weird. So he just sits behind. Max continues to keep off the throttle. Lewis eventually probably decides, oh, is he slowing? Is he going to stop? Has he got a mechanical issue? I don't know what's going on. So comes off his brakes, tries to pass, and hits the back of him. Now, I've seen both onboards. I don't think Max brake checks. I think Max is consistently on a straight, slowing down. Lewis obviously
slowing down on a straight. You just said
because
that.
he's been told to let him through, Rich. What do you want him to
said
do? Like
slowing down on a straight. There's lifting, and there's slowing down on a straight.
Yes, you lift to slow down, Rich. That's how driving works.
You lift, but you maintain the speed. You don't consistently slow down.
Well, if Lewis isn't going past, he's not going to sit there and go at his constant speed. Like, no, come on. So, no, he's always going to keep getting slower.
I lose track of things. Was this the first or the second time that he was told to let Lewis pass?
This was
because I'm confused now.
This was the first time he was told he had to do it.
Okay, so we're coming into, I don't know what fucking corner at this point, but yes, Max Verstappen gets the message in his ear. I think prior to Lewis Hamilton at this point,
yes,
Lewis Hamilton has witnessed. This is the third restart of the race at this point. Yeah, this is a track you need to keep your wits about you. He sees Max Verstappen closing up in front of him. He slows down, and Max Verstappen continues to slow down, in my opinion. And also, he crowds a bit too much the inside, in my opinion, Matt. Okay, he doesn't need to be that far left at that point in the track. He wants to hinder Lewis going down into the next corner to try and get the position back. I completely understand that. But at the same time, in doing so, he puts himself and Lewis in jeopardy. And that's exactly what happens. We see damage to Max's car, which I think has been more critical at this point in the race than Lewis's, which I thought was going to be potentially a race-ending damage at that point. I absolutely hit the roof because I saw the end plate come off for Lewis's car. The next thing I expect to happen is the front wing to go under the Mercedes and him to be out of the race. Thankfully, that didn't happen. We still had a race to go. And somehow, I don't know how, Matt, but Lewis starts to pull out faster and faster lap times. I mean, on the rest of the field, let's forget Valtteri Bottas, who's absolutely nowhere at this point with identical car and can't get past Daniel fucking Ricciardo, okay? Yeah, he is there hunting down Max Verstappen, who I do believe had more substantial damage on the back of that Red Bull in a case of it. But he has been summoned, I do believe, part of this as well. We've post-race, this shit ain't over, Matt, okay? Because I saw it there, clear as day, and my initial instinct is that is a black flag incident, okay? I feel he has deliberately caused this incident. He is smart. We saw it down in turn 1. I think 2 times already into this race. He's been let off twice. He should have been given a black and white flag at least 1 time, okay? This is the 3rd incident now. He is in control, okay? We're at full racing speed, green flag conditions. He is having to let the car through. He has to do so in a safe and controlled manner if he is to do it. He's actually caused damage to the car behind, and I think he has a case to be answered to, Matt.
I see it differently to you, as you know. I don't know what you want Max to do differently. I think Max is
do it in a safe place, Matt.
He's on a straight, Rich. Where else do you want him to do it?
No. There was on the exit of a corner. It's hardly any straights at that point. Okay,
Rich, you need to see this again, I'm afraid, because they are not on the exit of a corner at
yeah,
all.
but where is their position to pass there? I mean,
so much. You are crazy.
You need to pull over.
You have no brain cells, my friend. No, you are doing crazy.
It's on the exit of a corner that he's doing it, okay? And you pick left or you pick right. You do it on the main straight. You let him by, and you go and attack again. I feel Max is smarter than you imagine, Matt. He is, and he's done it every time. And he fools us. He fools you. But I know what he's all about at this point, okay? Because he is an absolute numpty. He's a disgrace. And I'm going to call it a disgrace to the sport, okay? You should have been disqualified today. You should have had a black flag because some of his racing was over the border. And I've lost absolute all respect for him. He's got good pace, but he is a dirty, dirty driver, Matt.
You're just so wrong.
Absolute filth. Even Brundle called it. He looked at it first time and he said, "Oh, I don't know," and then he called it afterwards. It's a brake check. He's done it.
It's not a brake check. He doesn't hit.
He's put the D rates on. He's done whatever he had to do. He's lift completely off the throttle. You know how quick they brake with the drag on the cars, whatever. He is not accelerating at that point. All he has to do is just cruise. Even with 10%, 20% throttle, he's not done that. I hope the FIA look into this with great consideration. I don't want the championship to be decided by this, but I think it needs to be set a precedent. His driving has been disgraceful, and this is the last straw for me, Matt. It's the last straw.
I can see that clearly, Rich.
It's gone.
I know you said your tolerance for Max is still no. It's there. You have no tolerance anymore. It's all gone. I think. I don't see what Max is supposed to do differently. He's on a straight. I know it's not quite straight. It is curved, but like it's not a corner.
It wasn't a place to do it.
He's off on one side. He lifts off. Lewis chooses not to pass him. That's the thing I think you need to remember. It's not that Lewis couldn't pass. Lewis slows down as well. He sits behind him because he thinks, as far as Lewis is concerned, obviously not knowing that Max has been told to go, he thinks, oh God, Max knows I'm close. He wants the DRS down the straight, not me. So Lewis is going to sit behind him and slows down with him. And that's why I don't think Max can just cruise around at one constant speed because Lewis is doing the same thing. So he's going to continue in that moment, I think you've league raced, Rich. You know, if you're letting someone past and they're not going past,
you lift
normally
off for a moment, and then that's enough. You
But when
lift
they
off
go-
for like for 1 second, and they're already past you. You know what it's like, Matt. You don't
know
need to
the F1
decelerate that much, do you?
you know how broken the F1 game is.
No. Don't give me that BS right now, Matt, because honestly, Lewis broke. Okay, he broke a lot. Do you think Lewis would have risked rear-ending Max Verstappen, knowing that by rear-ending him, the front wing is so flimsy?
Evidently, he would risk it, Rich.
No!
He did hit the back of it.
No,
He did
man.
hit the back of it.
No,
So, I know
he
what you
fucking
want to say.
wouldn't. He wouldn't. He honestly wouldn't. He
He did hit the
absolutely
back of
wouldn't.
him. Of course he would risk it, because he did. He decided to come off his brakes because he realized, oh God, Max is like basically stopping here. I've got to pass him now. And came off the brakes and tried to turn and get around him and misjudged, or I don't know, but hits the back of him. Both get damaged. Lewis has front wing damage, which, like you say, was lucky that the whole thing didn't just disappear. Max, we can't see the car underneath the rear wing, but he would have had damage. We watched bits of it come off, and then we're struggling with the rear of the car for the rest of the race. What do you want Max to do? I've said that so many times.
I want Max to let him pass in a safe opportunity. He basically crowded the middle of the circuit. You saw how thin that circuit was. It's the second thinnest circuit compared to Monaco. Okay,
you could have got 3 cars wide.
No, that's B shit.
Yeah, you could.
If you put your car in the middle of that road, no,
they're all like that. You could have got 3 cars wide at that point.
No, you need to watch it back, because absolutely not. I'm going to take 1 minute. I need to go cool down. I'm going to be right back because, yeah. So I don't know what you was looking at, Matt, but at that point, you know, Max Verstappen slowed down way too much going into that. Tell us what you think in the comments as well. If you want to get involved on this podcast, we are talking Twats. Well, I am in particular. Matt thinks he knows it all. He's over there. Not over there. He's over there. Okay. He thinks he's Mr. Know-It-All. I'm a Team LH fan and proud. And I'm going to see it very strongly in my driver's opinion. He's a 7-time world champ for a reason. He wouldn't risk putting his nose in where it's not welcome, right up the rear end of a certain Red Bull. But, you know, we'll have to see. The telemetry, everything will show. Max Verstappen has been called to the stewards as well after this race. Even after getting a 5-second penalty as well. So, pretty cut and dry. We had damage there. I was screaming to the hilltops, Matt. This is the end for Lewis. This is the wheels falling off the title charge. And I was absolutely distraught. My neighbours, I'm going to have to send a basket and an apology to them after this evening because they're going to think, I'm surprised the cop car hasn't turned up outside and arrested me by this point, thinking that I'm strangling the missus because I was absolutely going off my nuts. Laura, do you attest? How emotional was I after that one? She says no comment, and she will be pressing charges, is all you have to know. But yes, it was emotional, and that wasn't the end of it, Matt, either, was it? Because Max pushed on. He pushed on, and he was stubborn at that point.
No. So what's happened thereafter is obviously we've had this incident, but Max has still gone off track at the instant before and gained the advantage on Lewis. So in theory, still has to come back. Hi. Still has to come back and let Lewis back past because you still gain an advantage by going off track. So he was told by the FIA needs to let Lewis by, but obviously I imagine at this point Red Bull will argue back. We tried to let him back past and he drove into us. We're not doing that again. We could die. So Max stayed ahead. Then I think he finally decided, okay, we actually might get a penalty here. Maybe we should let Lewis come through, which he did in a very, I know this doesn't become relevant in the grand scheme of things, in a way that was not fair. And I know you said this in the chat, and I knew as soon as I watched what happened.
It was like Spa. Was it 2007?
Yeah, 2008.
It was, eight, was it
Eight.
8 or 7?
I'm pretty confident 8.
I feel it was 7
It might have been 7,
because
to be honest,
I
Rich.
feel like it was a championship that got away from him, and it was wet and drying conditions. Was it Kimi? I feel it was Kimi in the Ferrari at that
Yep.
point that he let through and got the drive back out the corner, which exactly what Max Verstappen done as well. And it was clever driving. I mean, I saw it straight away. I was like, that's a genius. That's a big brain IQ right there. And he got him back immediately, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Just he let him go and then instantly outbraked the wounded Mercedes with his wounded Red Bull. I knew, and it was clever by Max. I knew straight away you're not allowed to do that. Lewis lost a win because he did that. So I knew you'd have to let him back. Sorry, passed, and which I think, did he do it? No, he didn't originally, did he? I think he stayed ahead, and then eventually it came up top of our screens. 5-second time penalty to Monsieur Max Verstappen. Not because of the thing about them running into each other, but because Max had gone off the track, gained an advantage, and not given up the place to Lewis like he was supposed to. Because Max
Which was the
still
strangest
running.
part, because he gave it back technically twice at that point, but he didn't at the same time. So it was, I mean, he didn't do it clear cut. And if he'd have been more sportsman at that point, Matt, and he had done it properly, is what sits for me. If he had done it properly, that I feel Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso would have potentially have done, because Hamilton's wounded at that point. That's how I feel it was. And I feel that's why Red Bull done it in the first place. Okay. It's like, okay, let Lewis go. He's got a damaged front wing. Let's have a go at him. We're going to get him at the end of this race. Okay. But he didn't do it precisely right. He got a bit too rushed with it and tried to get it back a bit too soon. And look, not everything is said and done at this point. There's a lot to be discussed. You know what these races are like? We can go into the next race in Abu Dhabi and still not have a definitive answer based on what we've seen in, was it Sao Paulo? You know, we had the right to refer. I mean, these teams, it's just tit for tat. It's going to be going into even after the final round.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we're not going to hear much about the slowing down incident for probably a day at least, because they'll take ages. So Max gets his 5-second penalty, and then weirdly enough, at about the same time as we see it come up on top of our screens, Max lets him pass again, which I was so confused by, because it's like, Max, they've given you the penalty now, so you can let him by all you want. You've got 5 seconds now, so what you should have done is just stay ahead and try and build that gap. That's all he could do. Let Lewis by, and that was it, wasn't it? I think Lewis defended quite hardly at the last corner, because I think he knew what Max was doing. He was about to try and do it at the last corner again. So Lewis kind of just ran him off the road, which he got a black and white flag for, we will point out. And I think rightly so, because that
gloves are off. The gloves are off at this point, right?
Yeah, they were racing. It's not like they were racing wheel to wheel and one just squeezed it off. That was, Max was letting Lewis by, and Lewis decided, I'm not going to turn into the corner, which is why he got the black and white flag for it. But after that, I think Max couldn't do anything. He couldn't close up or stay near, because his medium tyres had faded, specifically the rear tyres. And I think that may have come not just because he'd done it on the mediums for so long, because he wasn't the only one to take the mediums for so long. There were plenty of others who went on the mediums. I think a lot of it came down to he took damage, didn't he, at the rear of the car when Lewis hit the back of him, which probably meant in the laps that followed, where he was trying to keep the gap to Lewis, he was pushing that much harder because he didn't have the rear grip anymore. And that, unfortunately, is what sort of led to the demise of his rear tyres in the final 10 laps or so, which meant that once Lewis was by, he just sort of waltzed away with it and actually set fastest laps of the race, which just highlights the sheer speed of the Mercedes and Hamilton, because even with a broken front wing, he's still lapping faster than everyone else. Even Bottas. Bottas was stuck behind Ocon because he can't overtake for shit. But
I mean, you'd expect that kind of damage to cost you at least 0.2 of a second. But I mean, at this point, Lewis, can you imagine the kind of levels going through his body at that point? I feel like Max Verstappen, he's had, what is it? That's his third strike, and he actually gets a kind of penalty in that point in the race. I feel that he gets way too much leeway when it comes to these kind of incidents. He's got let off time and time and time again. And yes, I'm very biased, but he doesn't give Lewis the respect he deserves. He doesn't go wheel to wheel in the way he defends way too hard. He's not a gentleman driver, Matt, okay, which we all aim to be. And I mean, he's massively disrespect Lewis on a number of occasions this season. And I hope that karma plays its part in this championship, because Max, although he's had the pace, he's had the car, he's had the consistency, it doesn't sit right with me at this minute. And the momentum is in Lewis's favor. And I feel that good will defeat evil. And that's a big statement right there. But I mean, Max is doing it the not so nice way, you know, the Michael Schumacher in his grittiest kind of way, you know, where you have to win it dirty. But the beautiful thing is we're going to go into the final round. It's going to be 0-0. And if they're both DNF, Max will win it on countback.
I think, first of all, I'll just mention this because I've got that in my head now. I can't remember a time in history where this has happened before, where the two drivers have gone into the last race tied on points. I think that may be a first. And it is a big if, because we don't know what's happening next week, if it is decided on countback, that would be the first time that's ever happened. The closest a title has ever been decided by in past years is half a point. Half a point. 1984, Lauda ahead of Prost. Only happened once. I know, Richie. I know. If it's decided on countback, it will be for the first time in history. I don't even remember what we were talking about before that now with the Grand Prix. Something happened. Not got a clue.
Yeah, we was talking about the incident going into the final phases, the damage to the rear of Max, costing him a bit more tyre wear. Lewis pulling out the pace towards the end of the race, looked in control, and in those final laps, I was concerned for Lewis. When it got to lap 47, I was just like, slow the fuck down, just slow down. You've got like 7 seconds at this point. Okay, this guy's tires are gone. They're gone. I'm imagining the front wing going underneath the Mercedes and him going off. At the same time, I'm like, Valtteri, send it on this. Yes, send it on it. Just go.
Send it on this. Yes, please, Valtteri. Please send it on this. Yes.
And I think there was a time that the team engineer got on the radio, and I think Toto got on at exactly the same time. And they were saying, get this, Valtteri, get this. Because Ocon, he drove a bloody good race in the end of things. Like, he played the strategy right. And it was always going to come down to this. This is one of my big concerns coming into this Jeddah Grand Prix was the red flags. How many red flags did we have? I said 2 coming into this race. And I think
we
it was
had
2.
one. I think it was just the one in the end we had. I think everything else was either... Or was it? No, 2. We did have 2, didn't we? They were just so close together.
We had 2. So we had a couple of safety cars. We had VSCs, but it's not a great track for racing. When anything happens, someone slips up, it's the red flag. It's a big deal around here. And I think we'll only be here for next year. I think it's the second event or third event for next year. I think it's Bahrain, then Jeddah we go to next year. It's like the second or third event next year. And let's get it out of the way because it's I prefer to do it early on in the championship map than at this late crucial stage because I mean it's one hell of a spectacle under the lights. Don't get me wrong. And danger close is the topic of the weekend. Danger close, and we've seen it with Max Verstappen in qualifying. We've seen it throughout the race. I'm so glad you said it in the chat, Matt, that it's going to happen again. They're going to contact. They did, Matt. They contacted. But the beautiful thing is they both see the checkered flag. It wasn't a Monza. It wasn't a Silverstone. It wasn't particularly an Imola where it was maybe a defining moment. But they went toe to toe. Lewis got angry. He got angry, I feel, in that late stint of the race, and the champ come out in him. And I feel like since Sao Paulo in particular, he said, enough is enough. You want to play hard? Let's go.
I think Mercedes have upped their car as well. I don't want that to go sort of unnoticed, because it's in the straight lines. They have definitely upped it, and they are now ahead of Red Bull, not by like how they have been in previous years, but I think the car advantage has swung from being slightly Red Bull to just about Mercedes now. And I think that's playing its huge factor in the World Championship. I think we've had a couple races now where the Merc has been the faster car. And I think that, Lewis has remained calm while Max has been really going for it. He hasn't, on track at least, had any kind of ridiculous, oh my God, Lewis, just chill out, because that's unbelievable what you're just doing. Whereas Max, as we've seen, and it's like it through his whole career. This isn't like a new thing for Max, but he has always...
No way.
He has always sort of taken it to the... When he's not happy about something on track, you see that in his driving, because he's just so aggressive. And something just died. I think I want to talk about this for a second, because you can compare him in that aspect of we'll do anything to win. We'll send it on a car, make a stupid move that was never really going to come off just to win a world championship. And you can use that to compare him to the likes of Prost, to Senna, to Schumacher, because these are all multiple world champions that we regard as the finest drivers of all time, that have also, we can look at examples of them doing the exact same thing. And it's how you want to compare it. Do you want to say that Max has done what they've done even further and has taken it too far? It's all up in the air, and I don't know. I think even as a non-Hamilton fan, I did come away from this race going, that was almost a bit too much, the amount of chaos and dirty and not okay racing. I was like, this looks silly now. And it wasn't just from Verstappen's day. We saw Raikkonen do a stupid, Tsunoda did a stupid. Yeah. Hamilton was, a couple of things were like borderline with cheeky, but nothing like over the limit. It was just a bit like, for Formula One, we need to rein it in now, because this is supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsport, and there was a lot of overtakes that I was a bit like, that wasn't on, was it?
No, well, that's what I feel like, like, let them race has been the topic for some time now when it comes to dishing out penalties and letting them race, especially when it comes to the front end of the grid. If you're fighting for P18, P16, you're not going to be looked at with the same kind of like rule book as the title protagonist, which is, a rule for one, and for the rest of them, it's another kind of rule, which is something that does concern me as well, because it's all about the money. That's what it's all about. It's all about the money and what looks good for the TV. And it's drama, like Drive to Survive, everything like this coming through. They want this high drama at the front of the grid, but it stepped over the line. We saw it even on the immediate restarts that Lewis was over 10 car lengths behind. Even on the initial formation lap as well, we feel like he was, slowing the pace down. We saw the Valtteri Bottas coming into the first pit stop as well, really slowing the pace down. We saw even Kimi Raikkonen, I think it was, wasn't it? When he was about to get
on the VSC, yeah.
Yeah, the VSC. We saw a lot of things that were amiss today, but we did get clarified as well that it's only under the formation lap where you need to keep 10 car lengths or whatever it is at a race start. When it's under a red flag condition, basically they can do whatever the fuck they want to do, which was something that's a bit concerning to me, because there can be a lot of mind games about that. So I think that needs to be clarified. That needs to be ironed out. And maybe you need to do one more lap under a safety car to get the pace, because you're not going to the grid under speed. You've got a safety car in front of you. Verstappen was complaining that you need to get your foot down. I'm not getting the temperature in my tires that I want to, especially for the harder compound, that kind of thing. But we saw it's teetering on the edge of absolute shambolic kind of sportsmanship here. And they're allowed to do it, Matt, which is the problem. They're allowed to do it. Max Verstappen, I feel, in close quarter combat, and it is combat right now between the pair of them. He's overstepped the line. on a number of occasions, and there's only so many times that you can cry wolf, and then it's just it's just going beyond beggar's belief for me. So I feel if he wins it, it's going to be a shameful championship for Max Verstappen right now. I really do. He's been pacey all season, but when it's come to the real nitty gritty, to in and throw in, it's been too many times. It's not one defining moment in the championship for me in the final round where you can call it yes or no, but it's several. It is several for him. He needs to tidy up that aspect to get the respect of the popular belief. And I do want to believe in him. He is the future of the motorsport. Him, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Lando Norris, etc. Lewis is a fading star in the sport, but I want to believe in him. I really do. But every time I want to believe in him, it's a kick in the nuts, mate.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. I think in terms of it being a dirty championship from him, I do always like to try and remember that if you look at the luck, I don't want to talk about luck because I hate talking about luck in Formula One because it all just comes to opinion, but I will talk about it. I think he's definitely been the unluckier of the pair this season because if we ignore the sort of last 4 or 5 races where it's been a Hamilton and Mercedes are right there, there's been this big chunk of the season where Max was faster.
Baku.
And there was several races where Max could have so easily delivered big points, outscored Lewis, but didn't through no fault of his own. And like you say, I think let's go right from the start. Let's go to Imola, where it's not a Verstappen bad luck. It's a Hamilton with the good luck. It was Lewis that day who made the mistake, slid off the road all by himself.
Yeah,
he's pit. He's got lapped down. Red flag comes out right at that moment and brings Hamilton right back into it. Like he's not even done anything wrong, and he recovers to second easy peasy.
I'll counter you on that. If he didn't get crowded off at turn 1, he might not have been in that position. But that's just me being an argumentative motherfucker. Okay, but let's carry on.
Yeah, then like you say, Baku's the biggest one, isn't it? Because he was on to win that race. He was faultless drive, leading comfortably, and then the tyre blew up through no fault of his own. And I know Lewis lost out in a kind of roundabout way on that race in terms of on the restart. He then fell off the road, but Lewis lost, I think, less than Max did. Max, had they not had his tyre failure, would have gained 10 points on Lewis that race with a Verstappen win, Hamilton third. In the end, it was 0 either way.
Maybe, but yeah.
Yes, this is why I don't like luck. It's all if
they both bottled it, Matt. Have you heard that phrase before?
I have. I use it.
Bottled it.
I think I hear it about my driving most of the time when we're playing games. Anyway, back to business, and then you've
Bahrain, early rounds.
Yeah.
Big kudos to Max. He overtook off circuit, he gave it back, and he tried and he tried and he tried. And I had big respect then. Big respect for Max. You know, he gave it.
The scenario is different then, isn't it? It's opening race. You're not going to do something stupid now, are you? Whereas late season, they now know that they are in a title race it's closer than one I've ever seen before. They cannot afford to give each other any kind of quarter because that quarter could very much decide the world championship.
But the weirdest thing is, it's exactly the same. You're coming into the final round, and it's 1 round versus 1 round. Do you know what I mean? It is so finely balanced at this point. It's Abu Dhabi versus that Bahrain race where you don't give an inch.
No, absolutely. And we're going to see some kind of drama, aren't we? Abu Dhabi, we're going to see something happen. And I hope that it's not a circuit where one car has the major advantage. I hope that we don't just see like a Mercedes is the best car and Hamilton has an easy time of it because Verstappen can't get close. Because Abu Dhabi will be a dull race. Let's be real. In terms of the actual race, unless something happens, it's just going to be a dull, lights to flag. It'll just be intense because of the title fight. That's all that's going to keep it tense, most likely. So
yeah, in case someone DNFs or whatever, like into the flag. But it's always been a boring bloody race. You know, even when Lewis was backing up Nico Rosberg into the competition, trying to win back that championship that time. I don't think the changes will change that much. I really don't. And
Me
it's a
neither.
sad situation. But I mean, there's more races going on than Max and Lewis. Surely, Matt.
Yeah, yeah. There's
We've been
F1's
talking about
actually
it
got.
all bloody. I don't know how long we've been going for, but it's Max, it's Lewis, but it's also Mercedes versus Red Bull, and we had a big DNF today.
Yeah, I think that's basically been decided today. I think unless something happens in the last race, I think Mercedes they're like about 30 points clear now, so they need to have something bad happen to them to not take the constructors championship. I think they are very much on the verge now of, can we just talk about an 8th consecutive constructors title? That's ridiculous.
I mean, they call it boring, but Mercedes have been getting it right every bloody year. I mean, you got to give huge credit into this turbo hybrid era. I mean, they've had the best 4-cylinder hybrid engine in the championship, and let's give credit to Lewis. He believed in Mercedes, he believed in Nicky, he believed in Toto, the project, and he moved there for a reason. McLaren, they was fading. He chose the right time. We've seen it with Fernando Alonso making the wrong decisions at the wrong time, as cost him multiple championships because he should be up there with Vettel and the rest of them in this sport, Alonso. But Mercedes, huge credit to the organization, the slickness, you can win one year, get complacent the next, and slip off the edge of your perch. But every year they've come back with something else, whether it's the DAS, this new rear suspension trickery we're seeing, whether it's the rear wings, whether it's an upgraded power unit, whatever it is, they've absolutely dominated it. But going into this new generation, I don't think it's going to be that easy. They've lost one of their key aerodynamicists to the Aston Martin team as well. So watch out for them, because in the next couple of years, you could see them benefiting from his skills. But throughout the grid, big repercussions as well. I don't know how the rest of the grid finished, Matt. I know Valtteri Bottas. He got a drag up to the line. He redeemed
prick,
himself
isn't he,
at the
taking
11th
Ocon on the
hour.
line like that. I mean, that's just not on, is it? How
That's just-
dare you steal
How
a
dare
podium
you.
from my man Esteban Ocon, who did a perfect race. All right, he did
Defend
everything he
like a
needed to do.
lion.
He was
Alonso
doing
returned.
so well, and we were about to see an Alpine on the podium for the second race running. And then Bottas, who can't overtake shit, decided on the last lap, oh crap, I meant to do overtaking now, and just didn't overtake. Like, oh, Rich, watch when you're doing that, because that doesn't look good.
Hey.
I just let you know that it didn't look good.
You didn't see the full context. Out of context, talking twats.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was not nice watching Bottas pass Ocon so late on. He did it to Stroll a couple of years ago as well, didn't he?
Baku, up
at least
to the
Stroll
line,
got to be on the
Baku.
podium. At least Stroll got to keep his podium. Ocon's just been told, by the way, that trophy that you're about to get now, that's Bottas's now. Not for you, my friend.
He was like, fuck it, there's no champagne here. It's Saudi Arabia. I don't want to be up on the podium anyway.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's get to it as well. I mean, end of the race, it was scintillating stuff. Lewis pulled out. I don't know where he pulled that pace out of, but both of them drove their skin. They drove their skins off today, and I'll give huge credit to both of them. Some of the driving has been questionable, yes, but the pace is unrelenting, and coming into this final round is anyone's to play for. We saw on the podium, Lewis take the top step of the podium. Max Verstappen, P2. Bottas, P3. And Max wasn't in any mood to celebrate. I don't know if you saw it, Matt, but he picked up his trophy and he walked off.
I didn't see it.
He walked off.
Yeah?
Yeah, he picked up his bottle of, what is it, rose water, whatever they use in the Middle East. And he walked across and he walked politely off. He kept a very poker face smile on the podium itself, but it's really getting to him now. I can feel the pressure is underneath him. We've seen it in the race today, and we've seen it with his father as well. We saw it on some of the shots today. The pressure is really telling, and if he's going to come back for it, it's going to be one hell of a comeback, because it feels like it's got under Max's skin this weekend. Christian Horner looked at a dejected version of himself as well. Adrian Newey, it's momentum for Mercedes, and How do you feel this is going to play out for Max in this final round? It's the final round, Matt.
Hello, season's nearly over.
It's the final round.
It's always over. There's no 1 for 3 months. I think it's. I think that Red Bull know that they needed to strike back this weekend or last weekend at Qatar. I think they knew that they need to stop Mercedes, to take some points back. Because let's not forget, had Verstappen won this weekend, even if it had been with a Lewis fastest lap, that brings the championship gap up to 14 points going to the final round. Max could hang on to that. That could be a very much Verstappen champion.
Take a P3, whatever.
Now they're going in tied on points. I think it's Hamilton's to lose. I think they'll probably know that unless they fall off the road, Hamilton should have the advantage because he's got a better car now. He's got the momentum psychologically. Max has been feeling the pressure. It's his to lose.
And I didn't talk about this before, Matt, but end of qualifying, a big shunt on the rear of the Red Bull car. Okay, they done all of their tests. Okay, and you even called it, and I said I didn't want to call it. I'm a Hamilton fan. Okay, and I even didn't want to call it, but it was scenes of Monaco with Charles Leclerc hitting the barrier. It was scenes of that, and I didn't want to say anything because I just wanted this to go down to the wire, and boy, it fucking did go down to the wire. But the gearbox, they replaced drive shafts, they replaced wishbones, they replaced uprights, they even replaced the power steering system on that Red Bull as well. They replaced a lot of components on that car, but it got to the end, and that's a testament to the car as well. We saw it in Hungary. That car got beaten up badly, but still Max dragged it to the finish, and that's one credit as well. Like they, I think Brundle said on the was it the pit walk, he said, are you winging it here? Are you actually winging it in terms of bringing this car to the grid today? And they said, absolutely not. We've done our tests. We know what's good. And the car looks great to us. And it got to the flag, man.
Yeah, it was missing some bits off the rear end, but it got to the flag.
And the front end of the Merc, yeah. Okay. They traded that. To be to you.
Mate, it's weight saving. It's fine. Calculated move.
Penalty. Underweight car.
Negative. Yeah, I think that Red Bull would have done all their checks and they would have known that it was okay. Like you say, I was a bit worried when they said, "Oh, no penalty for Max. He's don't need a new gearbox." I was like, "Yeah." They said that about Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
He left pits and the whole thing fell apart. So when I saw he was on the grid, I was like, it's okay. If he can do the laps to the grid, the car's probably fine.
I wasn't so convinced, and I'm glad. I am so glad, because can you imagine how boring it would have been if Lewis was out front and it was just, round after round. We wouldn't have had this action. As much as you say that concertina effect wouldn't have happened, I feel it did happen. It was a domino effect. It wasn't precisely Max saying, fuck the rest of you, and we'll let this happen. But it did happen. It threw up high drama. I mean, one of the most dramatic races of the season. And boy, we've had some dramatic bloody races. I remember being at Silverstone, down at Stowe Corner when the two collided. I remember Monza when they collided. I remember Imola when they collided. It's just been an iconic season. And I'm so sad, Matt, that we're getting a regulation reset after this season, because everything's come to the boil so beautifully and just perfectly. And now it can just be blown away by someone coming out the bag. It could be an Adrian Newey, it could be a Mercedes, it could be even a McLaren. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's insane. And I think new regulations, it seems a weird time for it, doesn't it? We've had the closest season in ages. It's the first time we've had two drivers from different teams fighting for a championship since 2012. I think it's 2018, but hello. Sorry. I've pushed a button.
Bye,
I've done a bad.
See you later, man.
It's okay. I'm back. It's the first time that they've had a title fight like that since 2012 properly. And I think that it's weird to have a regulation change now, but it's also right because we need to have cars that can race each other and not form trains that go on for hours. And the Monaco Grand Prix is bad because nobody can pass. You are looking at me there like the Monaco Grand Prix is a really interesting thing, Rich.
No, I'm saying the Monaco Grand Prix shouldn't be on the fucking calendar. That's what I'm saying. The cars are decent. We
That's
just need to
bold
be.
Opinion.
We need to be on the right venue. I believe the Monaco Grand Prix should happen every 4 years, and it'd be a special occasion for all of us, Matt. That's what I feel. And certain Grand Prix should be like that. We go there as a special sentimental value, like the Olympics or something. It happens every so often. We go there and we make it a special occasion. But these new cars, Jeddah proved that Jeddah is the new Monaco. Okay, these cars are perilously close. The drivers are on the limit. The walls are there, ready to claim any victim possible, whether it's in qualifying, the race, whatever is going to happen. And we've seen that this weekend. Monaco is not fit for purpose with these new modern cars. And I'm so sad that we're going to change regulations very, very soon for these more ground effect cars, because it's really come to the boil. And it's always the bloody case that we change it in terms of racing, and then someone will come out the bag next year and really pull a margin, whether it's Aston Martin, Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, you name it. Hopefully a Williams in the name of Frank Williams after his timely passing over the last week. But in terms of the race finish results, I mean, Lewis Hamilton brought home the win. He brought home the fastest lap. And we've been praying for this, Matt, because it takes us into the final round. 0-0, 0-0. We go into sudden death. We go into extra time. And it's going to be about driving to surviving. Netflix will be licking the lips in terms of anticipation in this final round. Verstappen finished P2. Subject to the FIA. I don't think they've got the balls to penalise Max any further. I really don't. In terms of P3, it's Bottas. P4, we had Ocon, a valiant display from him. Ricciardo, where the fuck did he come from? He finished P5 in the race. It was a great drive from him. Where did he start? Was it P11 or even further down the grid, Matt?
Yeah, he was helped out by, the same as Max was, by not pitting under the first safety car. That's what helped him massively. He started on the hards, and so he had to switch to mediums for the first time, but then because they had a second red flag, he could just go back to a set of hards to the end, and that's what sort of jumped him way up the order from his start position.
Yeah, it cost other drivers. Gasly, I say it's a decent P6 for him. A pretty unassuming race as well for him. You know, another one where he's just there or thereabouts, not really in the action, the decent pace about him, but maximizing the package. Leclerc just got his teammate at the death. I think it was the final couple of laps as well. Got past Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz started P15th or something like that and finished P8. Leclerc, though, started right up the sharp end of the grid, only managed P7. He'll be disappointed with that. Giovinazzi, P9, and he's getting sacked off at the end of the season. He's got to be mighty impressed with that. Hold your head high, Antonio, because P9 is one hell of a result. Lando Norris, only P10. And outside the points, we had Stroll, Latifi, P12. Alonso, Tsunoda, Raikkonen, and your DNFs are Vettel, Perez, Mazepin, Russell, and Mick Schumacher. So Alonso today struggled. You know, people putting moves on him early on in the race. Yeah, really struggled, Alonso. And I'll give you my race rundown in terms of drivers. Hamilton, lap 9, stepped on the pace. You know, he seemed to be controlling that early phase of the race. Boxed under the safety car, lap 10. It was a big gamble as well in that point of the race to box so early. Second restart, he got the pinch, but managed the pace again and looked to be the quickest driver all weekend in terms of race pace. Bottas, he was hooked up in that first phase of the race, which is unlike Bottas. He normally takes second stint to really get going, but looked quicker than Lewis on the first stint. Also done the double stack, which was a big gamble. I thought could have stayed out there and really split the strategy, stayed ahead of Max Verstappen on circuit, but didn't. And they got stuck behind that man, Daniel Ricciardo. A bit of deja vu once again in the second safety car. And yeah, traffic all day long with Daniel Rick. Max Verstappen, good considered start. The pace felt good in the car. Lap 9, he started to turn it up as well and complained about getting stuck behind Bottas. really made it work as well in terms of the safety car incident there, and a super restart as well on the medium tires. Really sent it when he had to. Perez, a lock up into T1, almost took his teammate out, lost out to Leclerc, and didn't really work out for him. He dropped to P8 on the restart as well, and just he was nowhere in the team game, and put himself into that mid pack, which cost him dearly in terms of the constructors' points. Norris, he struggled on the softs. I think it was in the opening stint of the race, and was compromised in terms of the strategy, and finished, what was it, P10, I said. Ricardo was one of the smooth operators of the race, and got himself up the grid. Overtakes on Gasly was a great one as well, and up to P5 after the safety car. Leclerc, tough afternoon for him. A good opening stint to the race, but was caught out by that safety car. Sainz, a man on an absolute bloody mission. It was full send from Sainz on a number of cars, Giovinazzi to name, and started, I think it was on the hards, and went really hard towards the race. Ocon, what can you say about Ocon? Played his cards right, found himself in the right track position. Fernando Alonso, high speed spin. I think it was lap 26. We saw Fernando Alonso sideways, probably big flat spots on the car. Gasly, I've got no notes for Gasly. He was like that unassuming throughout the race that I didn't really know much about what was going on. Sonoda, another poor overtake, another poor performance for him. I feel like he could have done so much more damage. Sebastian Vettel, and should have pulled out of that overtake. Giovinazzi, a great Q3, aggressive on the first start and first stint, sorry, and the move on Fernando Alonso round the outside, really proving some what he felt today in the car, and he was really confident. Kimi Raikkonen, the shunt with Sebastian Vettel, caused damage, and he also slowed Max Verstappen down, and was poor from Kimi today, a poor performance. Vettel, he had that incident with Sonoda, damage on lap 26 with, and Kimi Raikkonen, that silly move there, and Vettel was hard done by. Stroll, again, a real non-starter today. He could have done so much more. The Aston Martin package, really poor performance. Russell boxed under the safety car, DNF'd. Latifi, a decent result in the end, and Schumacher, big shunt. And going into that Tech Pro barrier, 5 layers deep as well, the Tech Pro barrier there, when we had to repair it. And we spent a lot of time under the safety car there before we got the red flag. I think that could have been called a bit earlier with that first incident. Yeah. And Mazepin, oh, it's pretty unfortunate for Mazepin in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, that's my race rundown. Driver of the day, definitely not Max Verstappen.
You got voted driver of the day, and it was the
how absolute bollocks is that, Matt? How absolute wank state is that?
I saw it go up that he'd been voted driver of the day, and I was like, wow, how has Max been given it of all people? Like, give it to Ocon. All right, don't give it to Max or Lewis. They've crashed into each other so many times. Just let the drama happen with those two.
Max. Let's crashed into
each other
Max
so many times. Who drove
it's all Max's fault.
Don't give me the Rimps argument of, oh, you broke somebody. No, Lewis drove into the back of him. I don't want to hear it. Sorry, Rimps, if you're listening.
Rimps, you know it's true.
Oh, hi, Rimps. No, I think that I just give it to Ocon. Don't give it to Max, because that's just it was so funny. Yeah.
I got my 100 race t-shirt. There's a sale on at the minute as well. You get a discount on a Mercedes website. I mean, I'm an F1 nuts. I've lost passion for sim racing on F1 recently, but I almost lost faith today. Lewis restored the faith in me in terms of this race. The Saudi circuit, I don't think we should repeat it. I think from 2023, they're going to be looking at a purpose, design circuit in Saudi Arabia, which will be, greatly appreciated. It was a great spectacle from the skies with the drones, with the lights. Everything was beautiful. Yeah. But I think Alexander Wirtz formally presented a circuit in 2019 called Qiddiya. I want to say it is, but Salam alaikum, shukran to all our Habibis out there in the Middle East, because they delivered one hell of an experience. This will go down, Matt, as one of the iconic memories. This will be on F1 TV as a classic race. Surely, there's no two ways about it.
Like those clips of footage that whenever someone makes like a dramatic F1 montage for whatever reason, whether it's on Sky or anything like that, like the ones that always come up, it's normally Hill being driven into by Schumacher, Senna and Prost colliding, that kind of thing.
This will happen immediately.
Oh, it's happened immediately. Yeah, this will be on there as one of the defining moments of a world championship, and it will not be forgotten in a hurry. As for returning to the Saudi Arabia circuit, I want to give it another chance, because we have to remember, first of all, a lot of the drama that came about today wasn't necessarily because of the circuit. It was more of a title race that's gotten so heated that there just was drama and drama and drama. And I think also it was an unknown today going into this race. Nobody knew what was going to happen. No one could predict anything because we'd never done it before. So there was always going to be absolute chaos and carnage. Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of us going to these new destinations always. There's so much peril. There's no data. We don't know what's going on. We have the free practice sessions. Yes, less free practice equals more fun. Let's hope we see more of that with F1 as well. But we've had 21 races. Let's call 300 kilometers per race times 21. And we still enter the final race with 0 points between these title protagonists. 2 different concepts, 2 different teams, 2 different drivers. And it's about to go down. We're going to head into the Yas Marina circuit of Abu Dhabi. And if you can smuggle yourself onto a flight, you want to be there, because it's going to be a history of epic proportions. Let's hope we don't get a bore, draw, or some kind of reliability issue in the next round, because that is going to be a real kick in the gonads. But the other news, Matt, Jean Todt will be stepping down as the FIA president. Now, he sets the tone in terms of the sport and this kind of thing, in terms of let them race and all of this kind of thing. And he's been at the helm for 12 years now. And the former Ferrari international assistants, the Formula Ferrari team principal took over of the sport and has done a decent job. A former rally co-driver and championship winner as well, that I recently found out. And a real legend of the motorsport. It looks like we're going to have a Qatari in charge of the FIA coming up. So Mohammed Ben Sulayem is a former rally driver and 14 times Middle East rally champion, who also competed in the World Rally Championship. And he's a vice president of mobility and sport within the FIA. He's put himself in the hats in the ring. He recently put his hat in the ring in terms of challenging Jean Todt for the presidency, but pulled out of it at the last minute. We also have a barrister, which is a bit of a more of a lawmaker. His name is Graham Stoker, and he is a British bit of a lawmaker in terms of international sport. Also has a background in terms of some of racing licenses, etc. He's been with the FIA World Motorsport Council since 2004. He's the FIA's deputy president for sport since 2002, I want to say. But there's going to be a big ship shape in terms of the FIA. Of course, we have now Liberty Media in place. They want as many races, as much drama. I mean, Drive to Survive, Matt. I'm going to be creaming myself for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. New people in the FIA. We may well then see some changes to our sport because of that. I don't know what they will be, whether we will like them or not. We will soon find out. Drive to Survive, gonna be so good. And it's all just so good. And there's change in the FIA, and that might not be so good, but we will see. How long has Mr. Todd been in charge now? It's a long time now.
12 years.
Yeah. Nice.
12 years. 12 years in charge of the FIA, and God knows how many years in charge of Ferrari as well. I mean, he's a real iconic member of the community, and we see Stefano Domenicali as well, but he's more on the Liberty Media side of things. So it's a very different FIA to Liberty Media. They're completely different, contrasting things. And any new incoming presidents really sets the tone in terms of the government, and it's a real government in terms of the World Championships. And we're talking F1, we're talking rally, we're talking touring cars, we're talking a lot of different things in terms of the direction that they take as well. So we look forward to that, but it looks like it'll be Mohammed bin Salem as well in charge of it, is my opinion on that. But we're set up for one hell of a finish to this championship. I was really worried going into this weekend that someone would get hurt, Matt. We saw a couple of F2 drivers taken to the hospital after the feature race. I hope they're doing well. But it looks like, thankfully, all the F1 drivers come out of it unscathed. I don't know if we've got any news from the FIA in terms of the F1 events. We know Max Verstappen was in the, should we say, the naughty book?
I will say both Hamilton and Lewis were summoned to the stewards. Both have gone to the stewards and have subsequently left. No word from the stewards on anything as of yet. The other thing I did see was the incident between Perez and Leclerc was deemed no further action racing incident. I think we were all expecting that anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know what we expect with Max versus Lewis, but I think the FIA are a bunch of pussies at this point, and they're not going to make any further action on that because there's a championship at stake, and we've seen it time and time again. When it's at the top of the order, they'll make no further action. If it's a battle for the 10th position, they're more likely to make a decision on it. But they need to man up, ship shape, and really start to take control of this sport in the forthcoming years, because it can really start to descend into something that we don't want to see. But this race, it had it all, Matt. I mean, I don't know how I'm still talking. I was screaming, I was shouting. My neighbors won't appreciate me anymore. They won't.
No, you're going to have to go over there and formally apologize, bring them a basket of muffins, and say I'm ever so sorry for all the discomfort I may have caused you, as I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Oh fuck, Max Verstappen, that prick, I hate him, I want to kill that guy, oh my god, he's such a bad driver," repeatedly.
Max prick come up a few times, I'm not gonna lie, but
I know, I saw on the Discord every time something happened, I open up the Discord and there's you like, "Oh, Max is a prick." I'm like, for fuck's sake, be quiet, Richard.
Yes, my words were, Max is an absolute lunatic. He should be black flagged. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments below. If you're Dutch, I highly doubt that ever so much. But yeah, I felt it was a step too far today. This is going to be a long one to discuss in the chats and everything like that. But I thank you everyone for joining us today. And let us know your thoughts on the race below. Matt, I didn't feel like this went too badly. I didn't swear at you personally.
And I am very hurt, Richard. Okay, I will be.
What a cunt. Yeah.
Oh, dickhead. I'll be bringing in the higher authorities to deal with this because I've had enough of your attitude, young man. Oh no.
We'll close the book on you, Matt. But I mean, this one is going to go all the way to the checker flag in Dubai. Let's hope we get a straight fight in the closing finale, and it's happening. Is it next week, Matt? We got it going on. Come on.
Come on. Let's have a great season finale. Let's
have a time.
No, let's not hope for Hamilton. That's not what we're hoping for, Richard. No, enough. We're hoping for a great fight and a worthy champion.
A worthy champion, which is not Max Verstappen.
Shut up, Rich. That's not what we're getting at here.
Let's hope that Sergio Perez is crowned World Drivers Champion.
Come on, Checo. Yeah.
Thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure, Matt. Thank you as always. And I can't wait for the final race. And I also can, because I'm so sad to see this season over. But it's been great to catch up on this podcast. We'll make a regular feature. If you fancy getting involved, do let us know in the comments below. We'll try and get you involved as well. We've been talking for too long. I've been Richie Skills, also known as Dick, Rich, and the guy that is a ham boy, whatever you want to call us. And Matt.
I've also been talking on for way too long. I haven't eaten, that's why I'm gonna go and have dinner now. Thank you for your contributions and wrong opinions, Rich. I will. Yeah, it's been a lot to discuss. A crazy race, and I can't wait for the finale coming up. We'll be back next week as well, talking absolute bollocks about the season finale. It's all over.
Thank you for tuning in to the Talkin' Twats. We'll see you again soon. Thank you and good night.